Jeanine Pirro, Liars, Leakers, and Liberals, the case against the anti-Trump conspiracy. A captivating expose of the deceitful tactics deployed by the liberal media, Trump detractors, and the so-called deep state, liars, leakers, and liberals, the case against the anti-Trump conspiracy, puts forth Jeanine Pirro's staunch defense of President Donald Trump. As an experienced journalist, Pirro dives deep into matters like the media's anti-Trump bias, Hollywood's hypocrisy, pseudo-Republicans playing a double game, and the intricate conspiracies of the deep state. The summary of liars, leakers, and liberals unravels the truth behind these anti-Trump agendas and offers a fresh perspective on Trump's road to the White House.
The rise and fall of Trump's relationship with the media. In the 1980s and 1990s, the media loved Donald Trump and gave him extensive coverage. While not always positive, the media coverage of Trump was fair and included well-sourced stories. However, things have changed, and according to the author, the liberal news media now hates Trump passionately. A Pew Research Center study found that of all stories about Trump, 62% were negative. The author argues that this anti-Trump bias has been exacerbated by news organizations' realization that anti-Trump lies sell more papers. The Washington Post, for example, recruited 60 new newsroom staff 2 months after the election. The author believes that this trend has led to lies being published in the media about Trump. Hollywood selective outrage. Hollywood celebrities seem to reserve their criticism for President Trump alone, while turning a blind eye to the wrongdoings of past and present Democratic presidents. The author questions the hypocrisy of Hollywood's liberal elite who claim they stand for justice but only direct their outrage towards Trump. In this book summary, the author draws parallels between the Harvey Weinstein scandal and the donation patterns of Hollywood celebrities to Democratic candidates. With Hollywood's declining movie theater attendance, perhaps they are not as smart as they think they are. Trump, the Swamp and RINOs. This book summary examines the author's claim that Washington is full of Republicans in name only, RINOs, who do not support President Trump's agenda. The author argues that too many Republicans in Congress are creatures of the swamp who prioritize their personal interests over those of the American people. The summary highlights examples of RINOs obstructing Trump's policies, such as the allocation of only $1.6 billion for the border wall and opposing the travel ban. The author contends that the real divide in Washington is not between Republicans and Democrats but between Trump and the swamp. The real reasons behind Trump's immigration policies. The book author challenges the idea that Trump hates immigrants and explains the reasons behind his immigration policies. The article discusses the impact of Trump's speech about illegal immigrants and how it led to a movement that helped him win the presidency. It also highlights the issue of sanctuary cities and the consequences of their policies, using the tragic case of Catherine Steinle as an example. The author argues that Trump's agenda prioritizes the American people and is different from that of establishment liberals who protect criminals. The Deep State Conspiracy. According to the author of the book, the American deep state is determined to hinder President Trump's policies. The deep state comprises individuals from the law enforcement, intelligence, and defense communities, lobbyists, corporations, fake news media outlets, and the globalist elite. The author further implicates that the Christopher Steele dossier was baseless and produced by a former British spy who had cozy ties with Kremlin officials. Shockingly, the FBI used this dossier as a basis to bug the Trump campaign. Additionally, the FBI also planted an informant within the campaign. The author asserts that this complete disregard for ethics and journalistic integrity amounts to an unprecedented abuse of power. The truth about Mueller's investigation. The author of this book delves into Mueller's investigation and argues that it's unjustly targeting innocent individuals for political ends. The book begins with a comparison to the witch hunts of centuries past, which saw many innocent people accused and hunted. The same, according to the author, is happening in Mueller's investigation. The book highlights how Michael Flynn and Paul Manafort are being unfairly accused and prosecuted for crimes completely unrelated to Trump's alleged collusion with Russia. The author argues that Mueller's team is only interested in gathering information that can be used against the president and his impeachment. Despite having the investigative power of the federal government, the Mueller team continues to come up empty-handed because there is no evidence of any collusion. The book concludes by painting Mueller's investigation as a waste of time and taxpayers' money. The Clinton-Uranium Scandal. The book presents evidence of an underhanded deal between the Clintons, the Obama administration, and the Russians involving the sale of uranium to a state-owned Russian company. The author documents how a Clinton Foundation representative approved the deal without disclosing the chairman's donations to their foundation, along with other high-ranking officials in the Obama government, despite the FBI's knowledge of the Russians bribing and extorting to expand Putin's control of U.S. uranium. The author notes the FBI's and Department of Justice's double standard in relation to Trump's alleged links with Russia, which implies their opposition to Trump's presidency. The real Trump. Donald Trump is often portrayed as a woman-hating, insensitive and selfish man, but a personal friend of the president reveals that nothing could be further from the truth. Trump is a family man, down to earth, and cares more about his kids than personal attacks on him in the media. He is also sensitive and respectful, and listens to families of fallen heroes and is in awe of the courage of someone who dies for his country. Despite the media's continuous attempts to blacken his character, Trump is a decent man who cares deeply for his family and America. Trump's miraculous achievements. The media often focus on Trump's supposed lies and scandals, but the author argues that his real successes lie in the economy, where he has created 3 million jobs and cut taxes for working Americans, and in foreign policy, where he has effectively dealt with ISIS and North Korea. Despite skepticism from the Federal Reserve, which has raised interest rates under Trump, the stock market has risen by 25%, and unemployment is the lowest it has been in 17 years. People seldom hear about these achievements, says the author. Trump's foreign policy successes are particularly noteworthy, with ISIS almost entirely eliminated and North Korea agreeing to peace talks and cessation of weapons testing. Despite skepticism from the media, Trump is proving himself to be highly effective in both domestic and foreign policy, achieving what his predecessor Barack Obama could not.
In sum, liars, leakers, and liberals lays bare the insidious nature of the anti-Trump conspiracy, exposing the concerted efforts of Trump's adversaries. Despite the media's relentless targeting and constant cloud of fabricated scandals, Jeanine Pirro presents her case, based on research and observations, that Trump is a devoted family man, genuinely concerned about the welfare of his country. Through this summary, readers are encouraged to challenge their preconceptions and take a closer look at Trump's actual contributions and policies, which includes a thriving economy, aggressive counterterrorism efforts, and successful peace talks.